What is going on, everyone? Episode 5, Divots and Pivots. We got the Genesis this week coming off of fantastic Waste Management Phoenix Open. I said that backwards, but you know what I mean. It's all about the crowd at that one anyways. But thrilled to be joined again by Bud Copeland. He is becoming a regular here, so get used to his voice. We'll talk the specifics later. But Chad Eckert from the Fantasy Golf Podcast is also with us today. Chad, how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk some DFS golf, baby.
Hell yeah. Hopefully your boss doesn't walk in on there and catch you.
My boss. No, I'm drinking this coffee. I don't need it, though. I love this energy that we're going to have. Before we went live here, we're talking, me and Bud are going to get going here. So settle in, boys and girls. Should be a good show.
I'm buckling up. And Bud, the always positive, Bud. How you doing today? We catch you on a good day again? Hey, you're on mute, man. Rookie mistake.
Look at that. See, listen, I had my moment of zen. You were doing the intro. I was trying to find my piece, my namaste, but no, April 3rd, 2003. That was the last bad day I had. You can look it up online if you want, but we'll talk about it later. No, I'm excited. Pumped to meet Chad. Barb has returned. Barbara's back with us today. So we've got the pod juice flowing and we're ready to roll.
Fantastic. Well, like Chad alluded to, we are going to be focusing on the DFS aspect today, mainly centered around DraftKings, but a lot of our advice is going to be able to go across the site. So wherever you play, you can always shoot us questions specific to Yahoo's, FanDuel, whatever you play. Hit us up on Twitter. All of our Twitter accounts are here. You can hit us up and we'll help you out however you need. But for today, we're jumping into the Riviera Country Club, the famed Riviera Country Club for the Genesis Open. Beautiful course, par 71, POA grass. We're seeing POA. I believe this is the first time we're seeing POA this year. It's been a lot of Bermuda, hasn't it? Or am I mistaken now?
No, you are, but that's quite all right because I'm waiting for me to get back east myself. No, POA is traditionally this is the last few weeks you have to hear the folks talk about POA and POA some more. So we had a brief reprieve out in the desert at the Waste Management, but we're back to some more POA.
That's what it was. That's what
Florida
threw me.
swing. Yeah, there it was.
Threw me in my mind. But so this is going to be good. It's typically a pretty average scoring course, so it shouldn't be anything crazy here. We want the good approach shots, the short game, and keep it in the fairway around that 400, 450 mark. So for hole distance. So let's jump right in. I want to jump into some of the top names right at the top of the DraftKings pricing because I think there's two guys up there that are above 11,000, and honestly, they're there for a reason. If I look at it, they just got such a track record, such a recent track record. I mean, Patrick Cantlay coming in with nothing but top tens in the past 5 performances, absolutely crushing it so far this year. And he's got a good record here. So the first question I want to get with you guys is, they got the record, they got the juice to do it here. Are they worth the money, or are you looking to save up and fade the top? What are you looking to do here, Chad?
Well, if you've listened to the Fantasy Golf Pod over the last couple of years, then you may have heard me say that I fade the TPG, that top-priced guy. I typically never reach up and spend the money for that guy at the top. It is very, very enticing, I can tell you, though, with the Jon Rahms and the Cantlays and that stuff, especially in a 129 or however many people are in this field. Sometimes you can reach up because the 6K names are a little bit more juicy. However, I typically fade the TPGs. It's gonna take a little bit of balls to do that this week because Rahm's in such good form. Not only that, he's kind of sort of motivated to get that win. He hasn't had an official win for a little bit here. And we know Rahm performs well in California. So is it Rahm in California type of thing? I mean, he's like one of the best California golfers there is.
And he's been so close to that win so far this year with a third at the Farmers, a second at the Century, and then a 10 just this last week down in the desert. So, I mean, he's there. But you're right. I typically like to fade the top as well. I'm definitely more of a middle of the pack balance kind of player myself, but it's even the smaller field this week than you're even referencing. It's only I think I counted 119 players this week. There's a couple of guys so far in this field this week that haven't even played yet this year, like your Aaron Badleys. So I mean, we're not going to be looking at them anyways. But there's a few guys that we can almost just kind of cut out immediately. It's really going to kind of narrow down this field of what the public's going to be playing. What's your take on this, Bud?
I agree. I agreed with fading the top guys right now, at least the obvious chalk. I mean, you got the top 10 players in the world who are showing up to Riv. Riv is one of those courses that the cream rises to the top. There's mystique around it. It's old school Hollywood. We've kind of buried the lead with it is Tiger's tournament. I mean, this is his invitational. That's why you see the smaller field, the tougher conditions. The fast greens, because you're right, it's not a bomber's course per se, but if you got to hit fairways and greens and around the greens. There's a kid though that I haven't heard his name yet, and I'm a little shocked, but that's because our focus is fairly East Coast or Eastern time zone centric. And Victor Hovland, I think, might come out and surprise some folks, just because, I mean, in the PGA Tour stats, he doesn't have a lot of rounds under his belt yet. So if you look him up, he's like 270 in strokes gained approach. He's low on the putting. He's low everywhere else. But he's been winning overseas. I think he's won like 2 of his last 5 starts, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's up to the top 5 in the world. I think a guy like him or Colin Morikawa is up there, that top price tier, but that's the one bite of chalk where I feel like I haven't seen Colin recently enough to say I'll eat that chalk. But I will fade Patrick, and but I'm kind of all in on Victor, the silent assassin, as Keith Stewart over at ESPN Radio calls him.
Well, we haven't seen. You made a good point. We haven't seen Colin since the Century when he finished 5th, and then he hasn't played, at least on the tour, the PGA Tour.
Right.
Like you said, and it's a good point you say, because not a lot of people remember to look over at the European Tour when they're, or whatever other tours people are playing when they're doing their research. And it's still stats, it's still golf, it's still form, and you got to take that into account. So I actually like that on Hovland, and yeah, he hasn't played a lot on the PGA Tour this year, but he did finish 5th last year, and people forget how fast and good of a start he had last year. He was someone who, as far as a DFS standpoint, he was underpriced for a good amount of weeks, and people were just crushing him, and he was delivering on value easily. So you're telling me he's playing like that on the European Tour, and he's just not showing up here on the PGA Tour? Then that's for someone who's $9,400. If you want to start around there, you might get him at a pretty good ownership value. That would be my biggest kind of nod to head his way, is that value in the ownership.
Well, yeah, 9,400. I mean, I'm into that. The problem is, though, I want everybody. I like everybody. You got Justin Thomas is there. He's coming in and with great iron play, and that's something you got to focus on. We know that DJ loves to play here. I think Justin Ray Golf tweeted the other day that he has like the most under par, the most guy is scoring at par 5. I mean, he's just basically the best man ever, Dustin Johnson, and you can get him at 10-2. You got Hideki playing great golf. You got Scotty Scheffler coming off of a win. Cam Smith started really hot this season, and Brooks is here too. So I don't know. It's going to be tough to choose.
DJ has a good point, because DJ, he's gained 42 strokes at this tournament. In the past 5 years. I think I went back 5 years. Yeah, in the past 5 years, he's gained 42 strokes at this tournament. Easily number 1 in the field. Next closest is 35, who is Adam Scott, but we can get to him in the 8,000 range. But it's definitely a good call out on some guys who they like this course, and they've proven that they can do it here. Looked like you're about to say something, but I'm sorry about cutting you off there.
No, you didn't at all. I'm just jumping on that DJ train because I feel like Riviera, Genesis, Paulina, it's all very on brand. I feel like it just, not to go non-scientific too hard, but it just like you take a snapshot and you're like, yep, I could see DJ. Case in point, when you close your eyes and you think about who won last year with Max Homa, I can see Max Homa holding the trophy. I can't see Patrick Cantlay holding the trophy strictly for aesthetic reasons. No science behind that. Don't at me.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you just feel it, and you gotta roll with it. So I don't hate it.
But Patrick Cantlay can freaking putt. I'm sorry, the kid can putt, and this is where you have to roll it. That's the problem.
Yep.
Now I was going to ask you about missing the cut last week. Does that affect your opinion on Victor Hovland? Because don't we want a guy that's playing great, or are we okay with that? Did he get a little rest and maybe buff some rust off and he's good to go, or are you worried about that?
I'm not worried at all, because I think it is time zone coming after he opened his season overseas. He comes over, plays the West Coast, misses a cut, but 30,000 foot view, he's trending. I mean, sure. You do what you would love to see somebody who's, T2, 7, maybe 13, and you don't see a miscut in there, those five starts, something like that. But with a guy like Victor Hovland, any day of the week, he's becoming one of those guys that I almost feel like if he's in the field, you have to give him some attention. And once again, being an invitational, top 10s in the field, you're going to feel that, because every time we start going down one of these avenues, you mentioned Hideki just a second ago, and he's another one where I'm like, God, forgot he was there, because just why would you know that he's there when you're focusing on DJ, Cantlay, and then of course you've got my secret sleeper assassin there.
And Hideki's been quietly consistent this year, which is not something we can typically say about Hideki. He's usually all over the place, course to course. I mean, it's so frustrating to try to play him and read him, but for once this year, coming in with 3 top 15 so far in the last 5 tournaments, and the one where it wasn't was a 30 at the Farmers. I mean, Hideki he's on some of his best golf that we've seen him play in a while, and it's not a bad shout to you can even get him for 100 less than Hoagland at 9,300. So to have him come in as someone who might be forgotten about, I love that call up, but he was highlighted as someone that I like. He actually ranks out at my model as 3rd in my model. So I'm on the Hideki train this week, which I typically am not, and I'm probably going to regret that because I always have.
Well, yeah, it's a little sketchy with the Hideki putter, but he's finding it a little bit more lately. Mm-hmm. I wanted to bring up a name, though, that I'm most in love with in this 9K and above range. Is Xander Schauffele.
Yes. Go away.
What?
Oh,
you don't like it,
Chad? I'm with you, Chad.
I'll believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. He's been knocking on the door for a long. I know he's in good form. He won the Olympics, but winning the Olympics, I feel like to me is I don't know. It's like winning an off tour event. But sorry, I'll go for it, Chad. He's your guy.
I understand that, and a lot of it is for these elite names. Some of them can check a box and then be comfortable for a little while, where we know these other people, like even Scheffler last week, you got Brooks is in a way kind of feeling like, oh shit, I'm not even in the top 20 in the world anymore. So he wanted to squeeze himself a good finish. Xander's this way, and Xander knows it. He's aware that he hasn't won for 2 years now. The dude is coming in off of a great finish last week. He's at 9,900 or something. What is he? 9,900?
It's 9,900, yeah.
Yeah, that's a chill price. I love it. You can start with that guy. The approaches last week, plus 4.2 on approaches, plus 4.9 off the tee, combined on a strokes gained tee to green. It was one of his best performances of his career, I think. Yeah, the best performance of his career, tee to green, last week. Lost strokes putting. We know he doesn't like Bermuda as much as he likes POA.
And that's where my brain was. Is I was about to say, and Andrew, we can bring your POA back into this. He's a California kid, and for all those reasons. So I'll cede you all that, and I'll stick to I'll believe it when I see it, though. Like I'm not putting him in my lineup. I would much rather sit here next week and just be like, I was wrong, because I just don't have much faith. You are right, though, because when you get to this level of play and the talent these guys have, they can switch it on and off. And it's funny because we'll sit there and say, man, I really need to go shoot a low number today. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, these guys really do. Brooks goes, shit, I'm what? I'm 22nd in the world? No, not acceptable. Let's go. And you are right. Xander's going to start looking around, and Ricky Fowler's another one that not for this tournament. I'm saying falls into the category of it gets old seeing your buddies win.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, but Xander, and he does know how to win. He won the Olympics last year and all that kind of stuff. And the Ryder Cup, but I think that's why I'm just like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, his game fits the course too. You have to find players that fit this course, and there's only so many. Like Hovland for sure has the driver to do it. Does he have the around the green game as much? Maybe he's been better at that lately, but for sure, for the price that you get Xander at, maybe even in the betting market at like 25 to 1 or whatever, I feel like for that,
I'd take him 25 to 1.
Seeing it last week, we saw it. He was third. 28 to 1, 25 to
1. The horses for courses there that you alluded to. Where's Bubba sit on your sheet this week? I mean,
so Bubba,
yeah.
I know Bubba.
Hey, he's not even on my radar. You just said when you alluded to like people who set up for this course. I'm like, how does that guy win every couple of years? He's wild as crap off.
Well, you got to be a lefty apparently.
You got to be a lefty. Yeah, either hit a hard draw, be a lefty, or just be a magician around the greens. And he's got 2 of those boxes checked.
Now he was amazing 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when he was better Bubba, but Bubba had I will say, like, shorter term, the last couple weeks, you saw him at Saudi almost win, and then HV3 upset him. And then you got last week where he showed up, but of course he likes and did okay. He wasn't blowing me away by any means. I'm not a Bubba guy. I'm not a Bubba clicker, especially this price that you have to pay to get him. Like,
feels too much for that's too lofty for me as well with Bubba. Even though he comes in at ranking 31st in my model, that price is just too much for the risk. I agree with that 100%.
Yep. If he would have won, if he would have won recently, then maybe that's a different story. But knocking on the door and winning at that level is a little different. You are splicing hairs at this level here.
And he's kind of lost it for this course. He's got 2 missed cuts the last 2 years. So I mean,
doesn't matter. He's won there before. Those guys,
but it's a course that doesn't change really. This is a course that year in year out you're playing it the same. And it's a fair question I think to ask is when it comes to this course that he used to love, because I mean he had a win here, he had a top 20 here. Like, this something for him in his play style? Just did he lose it for this course, or is it just a mental thing now with him?
100% mental. These and going back to though, you don't have to be in good form if you've won there before. Muscle memory kicks in, and winning for them is it's a mindset. It's that thing clicks, and doesn't matter if I've missed the last 5 cuts or I'm 128th. And if I've won the Masters before, I feel like I can win the Masters. If I've won at Riv before, that those thoughts, and that's where that confidence comes in.
Sure.
Rein me in, Andrew, because I was about to go to another player that I'm curious about this week.
Well, yeah, hold that.
Talking stick over to you.
Just because I do want to ask an interesting question that this conversation has brought up, and I think it plays into DFS quite a bit, is just who is like a big name guy that you do just kind of have that bad juju with, that you just refuse to play no matter how good it lines up with. Because for me, and I shouldn't say refuse to play, but for some reason you just can never get him right.
No, I know what you mean.
Like for me, I can never get John Rahm right. He always looks so good, and every time I finally pay up and pay him, he misses the cut or he disappoints. Like, he never hits values. John Rahm is just the guy that me and him are not in sync. Like, do you guys have someone like that when it comes to DFS?
Bud,
Chad, we'll start with you. Oh, Bud.
Yeah, go to Bud first because I could.
Patrick Reed for me, and I not to bring in too much baggage. And by the way, I'm sitting here talking about Bubba and Patrick, but anytime that I feel like I hear somebody go, "Turn out the noise," this is a course for Patrick Reed. You got to forget all the other stuff. He's a pro. I feel like I give him a shot and he burns me, and that's because I hate to say it. Maybe he's just golf's anti-hero, and that's the way it's going to be forever. We've mentioned that before on this show. That every story. My brother-in-law has some funny stories about Sergio. He used to date a golfer at the University or Charleston, College of Charleston, where my brother-in-law was the director of operations for athletics for a while. Said Sergio really is a grade A prima donna. That's about the most family-friendly way I'm going to put it. But Patrick Reed is that guy who's super skilled. He's going to win, and then he'll burn me. I'll say F you, and then it's like, why did you come out on top this week? Like, I don't get it. You and your. So I'd say he's the closest because I don't. I think that's just the only time that I can ever get. And I don't know if it's just that I hate myself for playing Patrick Reed or that he actually does burn me.
Oh, Bud, that's the opposite of what I do because I always play Patrick Reed. APPR. I am the CEO and the founder of APPR because of people like you who don't play him because he's a dick. It sucks at Twitter and he does burn you. But the reason why we like Patrick Reed is because he's a grinder. He loves to he'll never give up. Like, this is the truth. Like, he's not one of those people like Justin Rose or Adam Scott or even Brooks at times where they just go, oh, I'm out of it. Fuck this shit. Even Siwoo will do this. I'm out, and they're done. Reed is going to grind his ass off. And even if he's somewhat out of it, he still is trying to go for birdie. He's trying to do it well. I don't know. For some reason, he seems like the type of guy that never gives up and everybody hates. So he's always lower owned. So that's why I think always play Patrick Reed. And in this week, 7,400 on DraftKings, like, that seems pretty juicy.
Now,
we'll say the stats are not that.
Price-wise, that is very juicy. And I am typically alongside of you, Chad, as far as I love to play the ownership values more than anything else because in golf, it's just the way it works out. If you can get ownership values that all hit the cut, like, you're in. You're good.
No, it's the Brysons, it's the Ian Poulters, these people that are irritating and that nobody wants to like be a fan of. But yet
Poulter's
they're like,
only irritating during the Ryder Cups. That's the only time people hate Poulter. Other than that, they don't.
No,
even
yeah, I
know
guess
about him.
Poulter more or less.
Yeah, his social media game's pretty strong. He stepped up a lot. I like that he pulls the phone out in the clubhouse during rain delays and like post round.
Yeah,
I've seen more shots of Tyrrell Hatton with a Diet Coke and like a hot dog than I ever thought I would because his most recent one was he was paying up a bet to somebody else, maybe it was Ricky or Rory. And he's handing him $100 bill, but he's flicking him off at the same time. And I'm just like, you know what, Pulse, I got you. You know,
Yeah,
that's
he's a real
fine.
guy. No, he's kind
Yeah.
of changed his public perception. I think like 4 years ago or whatever, like you could get
Yeah.
Ian Poulter at 1% owned because he was just a polarizing jerk. But yes, okay. I don't like having any real true biases. I think that always and nevers, I don't like that because even me saying always play Patrick Reed, like I'll even say like, I don't know about this or whatever, like sometimes. But at the same time, you got to do what's fun. You got to do what you want to do. And if you like a certain guy and you want to ride your brand, find a brand play. Figure out a guy that you like and then you just go in every week on him. And then what will happen is you won't end up with tilt because we do not want tilt. And that's the worst thing that can happen is that you do like Patrick Reed and you do say, always play Patrick Reed. And that's your shtick. And then I don't play Patrick Reed at 7,400 at the course that fits him. And then what'll happen is that he'll fucking win. And then I'll be so mad. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you're going to get into a position where you're going to go, now I can never play Patrick Reed because he burned me that one time and I'm never going to play him. I'm not going to go back. And then you just turn into this guy that's got all these weird things for no reason. So I just don't want to go always as and nevers is. And especially when these guys, they're dead. They're dead. Their careers are over. Molinari's dead. He's gone. Adam Scott died a few years ago and he was never going to win again. People die and then they become reincarnated. So anytime someone says like Matt Kuchar's, his career is over and it's like, it's not over because you see Phil win a PGA at 59
Matt
years old.
Kuchar's right where he always is. He just hangs out in the middle. Nothing's changed.
So. But you just named two guys who this week particular where it's a head scratcher. Adam Scott dead, just corpse buried, has moved on, and then he wins 2 years ago, and you're going,
yeah,
what?
He shows up.
Same thing with Cooch. Cooch seems to show he'll pop his head up. He'll pop his head up at Bay Hill. He'll pop his head up here. Yeah, exactly. You know, he'll make a couple. He's a horse for a couple of different courses. But I'm also last show I went down. I've got some personal connections to Cooch, which makes me avoid him. But you are right. I'm not an always or never because like. Because I will strong biases. This is a whole crapshoot anyways, right? You know, it's one of those things, like you said, it's all about leverage. So I don't mind wearing my biases. Patrick Reed is one of those biases. The only reason I'll actually throw him a bone is because he had a cup of coffee with the dogs before he went to Augusta State. So I'm okay with, but I had to dig deep to find who's the one that I think I have that most acrimony with. And it's Patrick Reed. But it's not an always, it's not a never. It's just probably she's the most recent girl to dump me. Let's put it that way.
Now, I will say I have never gotten Mackenzie Hughes right. So that's one of those people I just cannot understand. Like, how is he good sometimes and bad sometimes?
Mackenzie Hughes could walk in the room and say, I'm Mackenzie Hughes, and I still wouldn't know who he is.
He'd be like, the golfer? But yeah,
admittedly, he's not someone I've had like a ton of. I've played him before, obviously, but he's just not someone that I've got like one of the guys that pops up on my list. I go, nice, right. Okay, another tournament I can play this guy. Like it's just when he pops up, I'm like, okay, let's take a deeper look because I don't believe it till I look further.
Is he filler for you? Kind of one of those you know you've got 2 spots left on your lineup, so you start crunching the numbers, and then you go, Mackenzie Hughes. Haven't seen that name in a while. Speaking of fun names, Maverick McNeely this week, after having a brush with greatness a couple weeks ago, and he's down there in the 7,000 range.
Yeah, he's 7,200. He's dead to everyone too. It's great. It's like 100 to 1 on the betting board too. You bet $1 to win 100 on this guy. He could win.
Why? Because and because he didn't win a couple weeks ago. Was it Pebble Beach where he was in the hunt or?
Yeah,
so that was something that jumped out at me.
I don't remember why. I think he drew from last week. Was he supposed to play last week? I can't remember.
I don't have him as anything last week, so I don't know if he went through. I think he did withdraw before the tournament. That's why I don't.
Yeah, from COVID. Maybe maybe that was Zalatoris. I can't. Those two I get confused.
Zalatoris did have to. Yeah, Zalatoris did have to withdraw earlier last week. The best was it Butch Harmon. He looks like a 1-iron without the grip.
Exactly.
It's one of the greatest.
Matt, back to Maverick McNeely though. I mean, he is in good form over in the last 5 tournaments or so, or 24 rounds. I have it going out too. He's got 3 top 10s, and when it comes to par 4s 450 to 500, proximities 200 plus, and then when you factor in his stroke gains approach, he's the one that's gonna, as long as he's putting in the fairway, he's probably gonna find the green in regulation. Or at least he's gonna be able to chip on and get himself that par to save. So.
And if you believe in karmic juju, like obviously the professor over here does, we've had this string of first-time winners last 3 weeks. I don't know, something to it. There could be, yeah, because that's absolutely what moves the needle in golf. Who won last week? Whose turn is it? No, but saying it's one of those things. That's more of me wishing it to come true. I would love another first time winner. I would love for it to be Maverick McNeely, and I would love to get him at the 7,200 range. So,
it is a good price.
Well, then let me tell you about another guy that's due to win. His name is Cameron Tringali. Okay, a Tringali truther here.
Wait, I always like Tringali too. I'm there with you.
Another polarizing human being that doesn't get ownership, and also. I was shocked to hear a couple of podcasts so far this week and not be on Cameron Tringali. It's POA. It's California. It's a ball striker friendly place. The dude has good form, has had a great fall, needs the win, motivated to win. What are we doing here? And he's like $7,200. He's 100 to 1 as well. Like those are the last two clicks on your 6-man lineup. You can fit the couple 9K names. You can almost reach up to Rom if you were to go into this low 7K range and just fall in love. Fall in love with Cameron Tringali. I'll tell you right now, you do that, you're going to tweet at me on Sunday. Thank you so much. The other people are out there telling us not to play Cameron Tringali because there's never won before. It doesn't fucking matter. Cameron Tringali
doesn't matter if they won.
10, top 5. He's going to have a bunch of birdies. We're going to make a cut. This dude is a grinder too. I'm all into this. And he loves Jesus. We need Jesus on our side. Come on, let's go.
No, I'm always a big Tringali fan. Anytime I see him under like 7,500, I always write him down. I was like, he's got to be a value play for me. I'm on that train too, and he is top 30 in my model this week. So I'm perfectly fine. He's the perfect boomer bust to hit your value at a lower price. So and like you said, he's probably going to be way under owned, especially coming. His last appearance at Pebble was a cut. So and that's what I keep finding in my golf research is that each week everyone's looking like 3 tournaments back, and it's so recency bias, and you got to just look so much deeper than that. And so that's where I think you can probably get him for under 10% owned easy.
Oh yeah,
and he should be if he booms this week. Good God, that value is gonna put you in places you're gonna like to be.
Well, let me promote my podcast that I do on Wednesday mornings. It's regarding ownership. So if you're curious. Perfect. Is this everybody on this guy? Sometimes you don't know anything about anything. Mm-hmm. Maybe you do football or you do basketball and you want to play a golf lineup. All you need to know is who's the most popular plays because all the spreadsheets have kicked out those names. And so then you just log on and look at the ownership and you click 4 out of the top owned names and then you click your brand at the bottom there. Maybe you just get one flyer out of the whole thing and you're good to go. You got just as good of a chance as any of us. This is roulette, people. You are playing 6-man parlays. It's like you definitely know that like this isn't NBA, this isn't NFL where you have an actual court that's the same every week. You got the same number of players that are going against each other, and this football team's going to have as many plays as this football team, and they're going to run 40 fast plays, 20 runs, and we can calculate based on the statistics of the human beings that are on that team. That can be solved. You can solve that. Spreadsheets solve that. They don't solve golf. Spreadsheets are only there to supplement your gut. Because what you need to know is you need to watch golf. You need to use your gut, take a couple swigs of beer, and then click your lineup in, and you got just as good of a chance.
That's a great point about spreadsheets, though, because like even in my model, even if a guy shows up in the top 10, I'm not necessarily playing him. I might highlight him red and say I'm fading him. It could be multiple ownership or whatever, my own bias.
That is also a strategy, is to just look at who this model is spitting out and be like, oh shit, everyone's going to play these guys. Can't do that. Because it depends though. If you're playing for for fun, or you're trying to double up, go with this cash game style thing or whatever, and you just want to min cash in these giant GPPs. But if you're going for the glory, the win, you're going for the top prize, which could be $50,000. You can't do it clicking what everyone else is clicking. You have to be a little different. So there's two things there. What you're talking about, I like to refer to as riding the dark horse to the bank, right? You got to hop on the one that nobody else is riding and hope that he actually makes it there. The danger there is the dark horse usually doesn't have a saddle and is untamed sometimes, so you never know where you're going to end up. I was a writing teacher, creative writing teacher in my life, but the other thing that we're talking about here that's not on the spreadsheet is strokes gained home life. I did rip that off of another pod. Can't remember off the top of my head if it comes. Tour Junkie says that.
Thank you, T. I was wearing some socks I got from them last week from the waist bandage of. They're great. So yeah, that's where I heard it. Thank you. Strokes gained home life, where it's like Andrew's on point. On the spreadsheet, you're ranked top 3 in all the different categories, this, that, and the other. But on Twitter, we just found out that you got dumped, or your grandmother passed away, and yes, they are pros, and we like the story of Brett Favre playing Monday Night Football after his dad died. But that's unique. More often than not, we're all humans, and those kind of off-field or off-course things, they do creep in and they do affect them. And nobody's perfect. But to Chad's point, what makes golf so excellent and not. And we come back from more is it's March Madness every week. I think I made this analogy last week where it's 140, 120, it's 160. And you really do. Now, what makes this better than March Madness is we're picking 6 Cinderellas sometimes, not 1. So, and you do need them all to reach the Sweet 16 if you intend on moving on to keep this analogy going. But point being, it is not just the, you can't calculate golf. Yes. If so, more than any other sport, there is too much downtime. It's a little too slow for muscle memory just to push through any kind of trauma or any kind of challenge. And you really have to grind it out for 4 days. And they're alone. I mean, yeah, they got a caddy, but at the end of the day, they don't have a caddy. They have an employee. Yes, they're friends. They're confidants, but they're business partners. Right. One makes the other feel good, and then they go through the roof. So yes, get your spreadsheets out. Yes, find out who the favorites are. Yes, but then make sure you're doing your homework. I love Chad. I absolutely love what you said. You got to watch golf. Yeah. You have to watch golf because there's just too much not on the scorecard that can impact the number.
My spreadsheet is just a starting. It's a launching point for me. I just use it to kind of help block out the noise a bit, so I don't waste my time. I got kids. I got a full-time job. I don't have time to sit there and research every single person. I got to cut it in half sometimes, and or less or whatever. But I do want to get back to some of the pricing here because we're a half hour in now. We're not even out of the 9,000 range here.
I think we covered some of the 8K range talking about Zan. We did, Bubba there. He's at 84 or 5 or whatever. I wanted to ask you guys about Tony Finau, another guy.
That's where I was going next.
I don't know if I can get him right either. Like, I always try him, and I'm never right with him. Are we going to try him this week?
So I'm fading him this week. I'm not on him this week. I don't like what I've seen. I don't like what the numbers show me in the model. Like, this is one of those where I get the 2 for 3 are bad for me, and it's not enough for me to look for some sort of magic story that's gonna push him to the top mentally. So I'm out on Finau this week.
But what if I told you everyone was out on Finau and you can get him at 7%? This is like maybe less than 1 out of 10 lineups has Tony Finau in it. And he was runner-up last year. He lost in a playoff. Should have beaten Homa. We know that.
That's what I was going to say.
I trust him to make the cut, though, right now. And that's where it comes out. I really, just from what I've seen in the way he's playing his game, I just don't trust him. I don't think he's playing consistent.
He's got to have that same mentality, and he's got to be angry about it, too. I think you'd think it's the same thoughts. 84. Guy could eagle almost all of the par 5s. I think he has the game that sets up here. Clearly, he did have it last year. He almost won. Mm-hmm. So, and if no one's on him, like, I'm willing to give him a little forgiveness there and maybe say, hey, has this guy been grinding on the driving range all these weekends of all these missed cuts? Probably. So when's it gonna all come together? Tony does this a lot, actually. He'll show up and be bad when he's supposed to be good. He'll show up and be good when he's supposed to be bad. And he kind of has a terrible putter. So sometimes you don't rely on the putter as much, but this course mitigates that a little bit more. So I think I'm okay with trying out Tony and a low ownership Tony. I'll have to see if he's less than 10%.
So right now he's coming in right at like 9.3% according to Fantasy National Golf Club.
Gosh, you know what's going to happen though is this happens every week because I do that podcast Wednesday mornings where I review the ownership. Then Tony is the guy that everybody's pivoting to. Oh my gosh, nobody's on Tony.
And then all of a sudden you're going to be responsible for pushing the 13%.
Yeah, he's 15% on because he's the pivot, and it's like fuck.
So right now he is also selected as at 33% of people's favorite in there when they're using the model.
The Fantasy National people, those are sharp people. They're not the dumb public. So like the people that are making lineups on Fantasy National, you probably don't want to fade them. You probably want to be. Sometimes I go on Fantasy National and I'm like, this guy's 12% owned. What the hell? I've never even heard of him.
Yep.
And then I go looking up and I'm like, damn, okay, he's decent. And then and I'm like, I can't use him. What do these people know? And then all of a sudden, this guy's up there at the top of the leaderboard all weekend. And I'm like, how the fuck did these people know this? These spreadsheets gave the answer. It's like insane.
And to go back to ownership, because we were talking about Tringale earlier, he was coming in around 7% ownage. So between 7 and 8%.
What do you got on APPR? I always play Patrick Reed. Are people always doing that or no? I would say
3.3%.
What?
3.3% right now, according to Fantasy National.
That's what I'm saying. This might be one of those moments. That's why that name was on the tip of my tongue, because I think I might go there this week.
You gotta go there.
I think you kind of have to.
Now, this
could be a very good play.
I love when people use past stats to predict future athlete performance, because that's not how it works, people. That is not how it works at all. Those are past. It's in the past. It's that guy on the Lion King whacking the king or the Simba and say,
Rafiki.
Sorry, I hit you.
Yeah, he hit
the past.
Exactly.
Boom. I love that gif when people talk about this, because Patrick, you don't think he's annoyed? He's grinding. One thing I will say is that by being the ambassador of APPR and always playing Patrick Reed, I fucking have to follow him every fucking week. And I know this happens. He's misses a cut in a row or a couple cuts, or it goes a whole summer where he's kind of bad. And then I look up and I see, wow, look at it. In 2019, he made $8 million. 2020, he made $10 million. This year, he's made $3 million. I bet his wife is
He's got
pissed.
bills to pay.
Yes. So then they show up and they play differently, and they focus and they act like every shot's important, like it's the Masters. And we know these players are, oh shit, I gotta focus now. Okay, I'll.
They can turn it on and off if they want. So, they're pros for a reason. 3%.
You guys, again,
tasty.
We're gonna have Cameron Tringali, we're gonna have Maverick McNeely, we're gonna have Patrick Reed as our last 3 guys in, and we're gonna make $1 million, and it's gonna be amazing. And you're gonna be like, whose podcast did I watch this crazy guy on? And then
Divots and pivots. Divots and pivots.
Let's go.
Divots and pivots. Find us at Belly Up.
There you go. Like and subscribe, baby.
The one guy in the 9,000 range, just before we jump all over the places again, that I do want to get your opinion on is Cameron Smith at 9,100. And this is what I want to. The way I want to approach Cameron Smith here, because I haven't made up my mind on him yet, is that he missed the cut at the Sony, and then he hasn't played in 4 weeks. Finished 4th here last year with a missed cut before that. Like, it's kind of like, okay, the spreadsheet's not giving us a ton of information to go off of, but what I'm looking at is when it comes to courses that I've picked out as correlating courses to Riviera, he's top 10 in 4 out of the 5 key stats when it comes to approach, when it comes to distance, putting, short game around the green. What are you guys take on Cameron Smith this week? Because I'm tempted at 9,100. As I wonder what his. I'm going to check what his projection
you could drop anchor down under with Cam Smith if you wanted to.
I like him a little less at projected 14%. I don't like him at 14%.
I don't like him at 14% either.
No,
he'll be more owned than that actually.
Yeah, he probably
because
will.
He's not a secret. The fear of the mullet. The mullet's in form. I mean, it's.
The mullet's in form. He likes POA. He fits the course. He's surrounded by sketchiness where you have Hideki. Scheffler won last week. No one goes back. Brooks is bad at this course and POA. And then you have Spieth's kind of a volatile. We don't know what we're wanting with that. So then he's going to suck up a little bit of ownership. I would imagine that even, maybe. But the reason why I'm not going to go to him is because I'm just going to use Xander in most of my 9K builds.
I'm fine with that too. Like that's why I wasn't really sold on Cameron. I just he was a guy that was teetering on the edge for me until I just looked at the ownership projections, and I wanted to just have his name brought up because I'm wondering if other people are teetering on him as well. Basically.
Well, I'd go down. I'd even spend 500 less, and you get Sung J M.
Sung J M is always a guy that I find myself playing for sure.
I got his autograph, the baby boy, in my wall over here, and I love him. He's so cute, and he's like, he just is so good, and never does anything poorly. So, plus, I've read and I've heard that you have to be a good at Masters player here. So, someone that has played well at the Masters typically plays well here. You can see that in the lefty Phil and the lefty Bubba, and then we had was a runner-up once at the Masters. Was it the fall one that he was a runner-up? Either way.
I think it was, yeah. It was recent, so I think so.
Adam Scott, Bubba. You mean you've got a
pepper the 8K range, baby. Let's pepper this thing. Let's start our lineups with him. You can use Bubba. You can use Finau. Nobody wants. You can use Scott. Fitzpatrick's playing great golf. Holy cow! Have you seen Fitzpatrick recent form? Good.
So the 8K range is definitely where, like, as far as my chunk of highlighted guys, it's definitely the 8K range. I'm going to rattle off a few names for you guys, and we can kind of jump around to some of them. But the guys that I have highlighted in my 8K range are Zalatoris, Homa, Scott, Fitzpatrick, Gooch, M. You've mentioned Watson. I don't have him highlighted myself, but this 8K range is juicy.
Yeah. Do we know this? That where you're supposed to use the 8K guy on tougher fields where we're not sure. I think that I saw that for a while. So I used to ask this Chris Hollander guy that worked for Fantasy National to like send me, who won and what price were they, or like their price per finish or something, so I could figure out like, because I was trying to say that these 8K guys are just as likely to win or do better than as good as the 9K guys. Like there's really not much of a difference. We get the savings and you can put more of them into your lineup. You do maybe sacrifice some win equity by not going to the 10K or even up to 11 ROM. But when we need 6 of 6 and they changed the cut to T65 in ties, it used to be T70 ties. So then less people are making it into the weekend. So I haven't this year used anyone in the 6K range most of the time. Like I've used a couple and randomly, but at the same time, I'm trying to do this low 7K guys that I think are mispriced, that are not wanted. They're just as good as the upper 7K guys. And then you just kind of go 2 9s, maybe even, or you go a 9 and 3 8s. And this is like leaning more towards the balance side of things because of this cut concern. Am I out of things, or am I out of my mind?
No, I think you're spot on, because I mean, like you mentioned earlier, that it's an invitational where the top 10 is going to be there, and those guys are going to be the top 10 prices. But when that happens, good guys get pushed down because these sites still need there to be a balance of pricing to make people question things. So you're going to get, like you said, you're going to get skill discounts in that 8K range. That's where you're going to find that for sure. Just like you said, you're going to find mispriced guys in the low 7s just because it's more of they're priced there wrong because of recency bias or whatever. It's just because they have to be. So I think you're 100% right. The 8K range and then the low 7K range is the place where you're going to find the quote unquote mistakes and the edges to take advantage of.
Bubba's going to be that guy this week. He's looking back, his 3 wins are spaced out. He's like clockwork. We got 14, 16, 18. And I mean, he lost a heartbreaker to a good buddy out, in the Middle East a couple weeks ago. And I just think he's, and anytime Bubba at 8 at Genesis, that'd be like getting Bubba at 8 at Augusta, where you're like, wait a minute, this is he plays this course in his sleep for warm up before he even wakes up in the morning. So plant your flag. I think I'm with Chad. I think you can fade the top tier here, because I think just the law of large numbers, the quote unquote top tier, as Andrew just pointed out, is not priced all as top tier talent this week, because the law of large numbers suggests you can't. You got to spread it out. So fade the top, live with the 8s, find you some 7s that you like. This sounds like my college dating life. Don't go for the 9s or 10s. Just find some good 8s that you can rein in. Fill in the weekend with some I'm just kidding. Don't at me. Don't cancel me. I'll take a lefty, a righty, somebody who's good on POA. But no, it's very easy at Genesis or any of or Bay Hill or any of the Memorial, any of the not majors, the invitational level terms, very easily to get lost in the glitz and the glam of DJ, Morikawa, even Victor Hovland, my boyfriend. But at the same time, value. Go for value. Go for the gut punch. Sacrifice the win equity, because honestly, picking a winner in an invitational is way harder than it's second to the majors, basically only.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got go ahead.
Well, did we cover it all? I mean, we didn't talk about we missed Sam Burns. I guess we could say his name.
So Sam Burns is, for the price and for the guys around him, was someone I was just going to stay away from. Yeah. Like we've talked about some of the other guys I think are a better chance to have better ownership, better boom and upside. But if you like Sam Burns, I would love to hear the argument.
Well, I mean, he was
it to the listeners.
I think he was in the final group last year and then just failed miserably here.
Yeah, he finished 3rd last year, so that makes sense with that memory.
So yeah, he's missed a cut and drew a couple cuts, and so that seems like maybe we had peak Sam Burns last year. See, I also know that these golfers have their candle. This is another analogy for you creative writing people out there. If you light the candle, boom, you got some light in your room, and it's burning down, and it can only light up your room, and it can only shine so bright for so long before that little wick goes out and the wax melts down and there's no more candle, and you got to start over. Some of these people do this too, where I'm afraid I'm holding the Seamus Power candle the other week. And I wasn't sure. Should I let go of this candle? I let go of the candle, and then he fucking almost, I think he broke the record for the tournament, and he almost won the whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I jumped off too soon. But then the next week he was god awful. So like there's a fine line of hanging on, because do you guys play golf? Stuff's hard. It's not easy.
There's a constant. ebb and flow of guys coming up, but it's just one of those things that if a guy's going to come up, someone's got to go down. It just seems to always be the way. Like, we've seen that with the Henrik Stensons of the world, who look like they're world beaters, Tiger level players.
They die
a year later. Like, you can't even find them. Like, it's terrible how it happens. That you feel bad for him.
David Duval back in the early 2000s disappeared real quickly. I love the candle analogy because Sammy Burns, his candle was burning really, no pun intended. Oh, look what you did there. Very intended. It was burning very bright at the end of the last summer. I remember he was actually a dark horse candidate for the Ryder Cup. There were some people chirping like, get him on there. You know, he's young, he's energetic. The thing is, the calendar switches. His candle is burned out. He's looking around. There's people like Phil and Tiger who are on scholarship, and they've got candles. They've got a candle maker on staff, right? And then there's guys like Sam Burns who they got to go out and they got to scrounge another candle. So I mean, it is you got to strike while the iron's hot and the candle's burning brightly. I don't know Sam Burns personally, but obviously judging from the armchair where I sit on high, he's not going to go anywhere. As Kiz says, T20 pays pretty well out here.
He birdies a lot too. He loves birdies.
Yeah. He's not, I think he'll be another Charles Howell III, or even maybe a step up and say like a Billy Horschel, where he might, I don't know if he'll get a major, but maybe he'll win a handful of times, maybe a FedEx Cup, couple of President's Cups, maybe a Ryder Cup, that kind of thing. And by the way, you don't ever have to watch Sam Burns again, because I just told you his entire career.
There you go. Boom. Over.
No, I love it. So,
are we gonna? So we're not playing him this week because we got too many names. We're already in
too many names. And one guy I really want to play, just because he looks like he's just lines up perfect here, at least in my eyes, is Taylor Gooch. But I just looked up his ownership. He's at like 15% projected ownership right now.
Everybody's waiting for a Goocher to break through.
Yeah, everybody's waiting.
The next Luke
right
List,
now. And it's so frustrating because it's like, yeah, this is the course where maybe he does it on, but if everyone else is on it, it doesn't really feel the same. It's not going to help you out as much.
It's just weird to see Gooch is ahead of Leishman, Henley, Garcia, Neiman, Kokrak, Answer, Casey. I mean,
I'm telling you,
how is
I think there's too much of the Bud, the Boudreaux, the outside juju. People are putting it on there. They're saying all these other first time winners. Gooch, you're next. Like, I mean, he's
he won
out
the
there.
RSM.
Oh, that's right. So
sorry. He's already
that's why he is.
Real win.
Sorry, yeah. I'm still stuck on my Mav McNeely kick for this week.
Oh yes, Mav's the one. Tringali.
That's the one. That's the one. I don't think Tringali's going to break through, but I'm with you on playing him for the reasons that you say. He's always going to make the damn cut, and it's just I've lost hope on Cameron Tringali, but like you said, you don't have to win to win.
There is something to be said about the 35-year-old guy. He's who he is, like no offense, but you are who you are. Although Luke List is like 37 and changed his spots somehow in the last 6 months. So it could have happened. We got Tringali, and Jesus has a plan for him.
I love it.
No more
I love it.
Should we talk about 6K, guys, and we can get out of here?
Yeah, so before we hit 6K, I do want to hit on someone in the same range as your Patrick Reed at 7,500, Mr. Alexander Noren.
Okay.
He was a hot item last year.
So he was a hot item last year. He's fallen a bit out of the public. I shouldn't say the public eye, but it was out of like the big golf eye here when it comes to DFS. But a 12th last year, he finished 6th at the Phoenix Open, and I feel like nobody was even talking about him. He's got a positive stroke gain on the season so far. He's coming in at only 7% projected ownership. It's a guy that it's one of those like you said, last click kind of guys where it might be worth a shot if you're somewhere there. Like, sure, you got Reed and Tringali, who we already said we love, right there around him for a little bit of less. So I'm sure I probably won't have a ton of Noren, but I just feel like between Casey, Power, Hoagie, List, like there's these guys around him that I think are just going to be more owned than him, and I think he can probably potentially outplay him here.
I wanted to talk about the fact that we're moving across the coast to Florida next week. Is it next week? We're done with this California POA crap, and I think we wait for Noren for then. So there's a few golfers that you can like, even Rory. Sometimes I'd like him in a Florida swing than I do in a California kind of thing. And people that are smarter than me at doing this have told me in the past that if a guy gains 7.4 strokes putting the week before, it's going to be very hard to sustain that. Yes. And that's what my friend Noren did last week on Bermuda, a surface he prefers. And now Noren is going over to POA, a surface that he likes least. So he gained the most ever. Well, actually, the second most ever of his career on Net Fantasy National, which goes back forever. Yeah, you probably don't expect the putter can't continue like that.
No,
I mean,
it's too hard to consistently do that.
Chad, you nailed it. He's part of Alex is part of the East Coast Jupiter Junkyard gang down there with Rory and DJ and Brooks. They all live in Jupiter. They all have their boats and they all hang out at the same restaurant. He did, last week. What do you know? Waste management. He putts. And then, exactly. So I agree with you where Alex Noren's a name that, and Roy, it does. It feels like once they get back to the East Coast, there are certain players. Again, though, so back to your boy. I think that's why you might have a point with X going to give it to you this week with Xander.
That's what I'm saying. Thank you. He's over there. Full circle. Let's go. X going to give it to you. Tringali going to give it to you. He loves Pola. Matt McNeil loves Pola. Reed, I'm gonna APPR Reed because I always play Patrick Reed, but I don't know. Maybe
Snoop and Dre were at the halftime show. It's California love everywhere.
I love it. You guys are awesome. What else should we talk about? Because I, as much as I don't want to click the 6K range, I can fall in love there. If you're playing
what's a name? Click 6K and say a name that somebody's heard before. Who's down there that somebody would be?
A couple. You got Russell Knox, Party Marty. Ryan Palmer's down here.
Ryan Palmer is a name that will come out in LA and throw out a bunch of birdies.
Sure, he could. Anywhere Rom plays well.
Hell, Ricky Fowler. I'm not playing Ricky Fowler, but he's down here this low. Like how he is just dropped in pricing is nuts.
He's the new David Duval.
Oh, you know what you need to do on these kind of podcasts is you need to spit out a name like Taylor Moore or Cameron Young, who you and I. We watch a ton of golf. We probably haven't even seen them swing. I don't know if he's lefty or righty. I don't know if he's white, black, Indian.
I think you're making the names up.
But you sound smart. You sound like, ooh, how does he know about a guy named Taylor Moore? I've never heard of Cameron Young. Ooh, I'm cool. I can tell you about a name I've seen.
You stole my thunder a little bit with Cameron.
But Cameron Young, I've seen him show up on leaderboards, but I don't know what he looks like or anything. But
No, listen,
he's the guy that when he wins, he doesn't even have a profile picture.
Yeah, exactly.
You got
go to their Twitter, find a couple personal details, start the Cameron Young fan book page.
Yes, then your Cameron Young tracker on Twitter.
And then you can partner with the CEO of the Patrick Reed, always play Patrick Reed Society.
Yes. But that is kind of how I attack the 6K range. If I'm playing someone down here, I just want someone who's going to make the cut at that point. That's all you need to hit value in the 6K range. So I'm looking for someone low owned who's going to make the cut. So you kind of you beat me to it there. But Cameron Young was one of those guys for me this week. He lines up with his recent play. He's never played this course before, which is going to probably keep him off a lot of people's radars. But he's made the cut in his last three tournaments, which was the Amex, the Farmers, and the Phoenix. Finished all top 40 in all of those. So if you're looking for a guy who's going to make the cut, who's no one going to know about, Cameron Young. I bet you if I were to look him up right now, and he's 6,700, I believe.
Everybody's gonna know about him now, but that's the point.
No, and that's the thing too. Everybody has that. Ooh, Mito. Let's play Mito. Last week, Joe Idoni. I do the Preferred Lines podcast.
Mito Pereira.
Yeah, everybody's on Mito, and then he's bad. But maybe go back. So I was on Thagala the week before last week, telling everybody Thagala is this guy. He's a skilled guy, and everyone with spreadsheets is telling me I'm an idiot. And then I didn't go back to him last week, where sometimes. What changed? It's 6 days of planet Earth. Like how does anything different now all of a sudden? So like maybe Mito again, and you go, oh, he's a good ball striker. He could fit the course well, but now no one's on him and he's less priced. Maybe you go back to that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to tell them because he hasn't played any of my correlating courses, so I have very little data on him.
Well, he's a Corn Ferry guy. Only wins on Corn Ferry apparently. But.
Well, exactly, yeah. So that's why there's not much data, but yeah. So Cameron Young is someone I was looking at down here.
Oh, I've heard the name David Lipsky, and my friend Lee Aldrich told me about him on Twitter. Lee Aldrich does fan share stuff, but I don't know, something about Lipsky. He's popping. David Lipsky at 6,200.
Sounds like
he made the cut at the MX, the Farmers, and Pebble Beach, including a top 20 at the top 15 at the MX. So, yeah, David Lipsky. He's. I'm just quickly looking at some of his numbers here. He's one of those guys. He's not at the top of the chart, but he's got a lot of green in his numbers, which means he's right in the middle of the field. So. For 6,200.
The truth is, you guys, you just click a name down here, and then on Sunday, when that guy's doing well, you claim, "Oh, I'm an expert. I fucking knew it. Wow, look at me go. Well, look at this lineup. How the hell did you predict that 0.5% guy? You are amazing." And it's like, "Oh, because I'm smarter than you." And then
I work with a guy who grabbed list at 90 to 1.
Boom. You know what we're going to do is we're going to grab Patrick Reed at 100 to 1 this week. We're going to grab Maverick McNeely at 100 and Tringali at 100 to 1. We're cashing a comma. Oh, baby. It's going to be great. We're going to love it. Oh, my gosh. You guys are awesome. This has been so much fun. We're all going to win money. The coffee's running out.
Just as we're running out of time, the last two guys I want to mention, just quickly looking at guys who finished well here. It's like top 20 here that are 6,500 and below. Not necessarily going to play them, but there might be people I researched a little last minute here. Both Patrick Rogers and Wyndham Clark, both top 15 here last year.
Okay.
So Patrick Rogers not the greatest form right now. He's coming off of 2 cuts and barely made the cut in the tournaments before that. But if you're just looking for someone who has a good history here, he's got 3 top 30s in the past 3 years here, and at 6,500. Yeah, maybe you take a shot. If you're gonna play the top of the price range, you're gonna have to have 1 or 2 guys down here.
Well,
I like Wyndham. I was waiting for Wyndham Clark last year, and he never broke through. Chad, back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Clark. I won a GPP with Wyndham Clark a couple years ago. Actually, it was crazy. I didn't even know who he was. And Smart Golf Bets Mike Miller tweeted him out, and I go, Wyndham not. I'm going to use him. So I used him, and then he was great. That was though when he used to be like this insane inside 10-foot putter. So Wyndham Clark was known as being this driving distance fiend, and then he would putt really well. So that's just like an anomaly where you're like, damn, dude, if he can have a decent iron play game for one weekend, he could win. And nobody knew who he was. But now, he has, these are who they are. Like, I think like sometimes, he's as good as a top 20 maybe. And that's about as good as you're going to get. But that's what you pay. You pay what you get.
6,500. Top 20 is more than you need.
Sure. Throw it in. Flyer.
So a couple minutes left here. Loved what we shot out for names. Loved the conversation. But we're at the end of the show here where, Chad, I want to give you a chance to shout you whatever you're doing, your latest project, your article, where we can find you, shout you out.
Gosh,
and then like I said, coming in at the end of it, hit us with something positive, something inspirational. Change the minds of somebody out there in the world.
Okay, so to remind everyone, this is DraftKings. It is gambling. You are gambling. Do not play DraftKings expecting to make money for your kid's college fund or that you can contribute to your 401k from doing this. No, don't fucking do that. That'll only make you sad and then hate DFS, literally. So just play for as much money as you're okay losing, and your wife's not going to make you stop doing this for. Play for fun and use names that will reduce tilt. And the way to do that is open the thing up on Monday, click the fucking lineup in, and then shut it off. Move on. Because what is going to happen is you're going to hear from this Chad Eckert guy. I don't even know who he is, but he was saying Tringali. And I'm going to put Tringali in. You know what's going to happen? Is Tringali is going to be dead effing last. And you're going to be sad. You're going to be like, why did I listen to this loser who's on Tringali who can't win ever? I'm sorry. I am just a realtor from Minnesota. I'm not an expert. # not expert is what we've said forever. So just do what you want in your own little heart, because then on Sunday, you won't be mad at me.
I love it. Smart advice.
There you go. Is that good enough?
If you need help, contact the Gamblers Hotline, anonymous. Correct. I'm not sure what it was. I wish I knew you were going to say that before we came. I would have.
No, 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-GAMBLER in most states. I will say that on every Monday morning, I will go live and I do a first look. So as soon as the DraftKings pricing comes out, freaking live, talking about it, reacting. Then Tuesday nights, starting at 9 Eastern, a friend of mine, Joe Idoni, you can find him on Twitter at Tour Picks. Guy and I talk through the betting board. Right after that, I jump on with my buddies Eric Quagnis Martins and Josh Jish Swish Bennett, these fools that I know from Minnesota, and we just talk crap. We throw up our lineups and we make fun of the people that we picked, and then talk a bunch of golf stuff. So that's right after, called Golf Guys. That's on the Fantasy Golf Pod YouTube page. Then Wednesday mornings, like I mentioned earlier, presented by fansharesports.com, is the Ownership Projection Show. That's live Wednesday mornings, where I will download the spreadsheet of the ownership projections. I'll add in my own little take, and we'll review who's the most and least owned in each price range, so you can get out there and make good lineups. So that's what I do each and every week. Follow me at Edina Realty. I'm a realtor for Edina Realty in the state of Minnesota. If you need to buy or sell a house, I can help you do that. # expert on real estate. Is that enough? Are we good?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So thanks again for watching, listening, however you choose to take in this show on your podcast networks, on the Tiki Live Belly Up TV station. Make sure to follow Bud Copeland at this Buds for you with an E. Budweiser, don't come looking. And Chad Eckert at Adina Real Che. It's Che.
Edina.
Edina
Real Tea.
Real.
Because I work for
Che.
Edina
Okay.
Real Tea. My initials
Perfect.
are CHE. It's dumb. I didn't make this intending to have anybody look at my Twitter page back in the day. Like I wasn't going to be.
Now look what you've done. But make sure to follow these guys. They're great follows. They're going to give you all the information you need. Come back. Catch us every Wednesday, 10 a.m. on TikiLive.com.
Be nice
Shout
to
out
each
Belly
other.
Up Sports. Be nice. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Peace out.